Today we're going to be talking about performance optimization in terms of MySQL. We know that in this data-driven world, speed is king. So we're going to be looking into the techniques so that we can become performance champion when it comes to the databases. So the first thing I wanted to cover is like we need to understand what are the different bottlenecks when it comes to the identifying the culprits which are slowing down our database. So when it comes to the databases, uh, the first one is going to be the hardware limitation. So if you have insufficient CPU power, like imagine if you're running a single lane, like if you're running on a single lane highway handling rush hour traffic, what's gonna happen? It's gonna basically your CPU power is gonna struggle a lot to process the complex queries, which is gonna lead to delays. Or if you have inadequate RAM, that's gonna slow you down. Or if you have some slow storage processing, like instead of SSD, you have like the old school, the hard disk. That's gonna definitely slow you down. Okay, the another very important bottleneck is the inefficient queries. So again, if you have like complex or poorly written queries, you can like run into situations where you need more processing power and it's gonna take longer to execute. uh, so like imagine you are doing a full table scans where you don't need to do that, or you are uh, like you don't have the correct joints, like you're using the inefficient joints, or if even like you're missing some joints, that's gonna definitely be a bottleneck. Then you have indexing issues. So if you are missing indexes, right, that's definitely a very common reason that you're gonna see very slow performance. So it basically missing the indexes is going to force the database to scan a large amount of data sequentially, and that's going to impact the performance. Another one could be the outdated or inefficient indexes. So you have the indexes, but like uh, uh, you have some kind of indices where they don't provide the necessary shortcuts to fast data retrieval. That's definitely gonna be another thing. Okay, the other one, the other bottleneck is gonna be the database configuration. So if you have suboptimal settings uh, like improper configuration, uh, consider like in term when it comes to the memory allocation or caching or concurrency control, and you have improper configuration in those things, that's gonna lead to inefficient resource utilization and performance issues. Another example of bad database configuration is going to be the network latency. So if you have high network latency between users and the database, it can cause delays in the data transmission. Okay, now how would you identify these culprits? Like how would you? We also want to talk about identifying identifying the bottlenecks. So just remember that we have some performance monitoring tools. We have uh, like query explainers. Basically, we're gonna be they can analyze the execution plans of your queries to understand how you are how they are processed and identify inefficient steps. Then we have stress testing tools. So stress testing tools are gonna simulate realistic workloads to see how your database performs under pressure, and it's gonna uncover potential issues. Then we have user experience. So what it means is uh, like if you have a user, you need to actually user experience is basically people are using your databases and they are giving you some feedback, and they are telling you that they are seeing slow loading and unresponsive application. That would be another way of identifying the bottlenecks. Okay, so now we wanted to I wanted to talk about like these performance tools, the like you can call them analysis tools. So what are they and how can we use them? So these tools. So number one is the built-in tool. So all these databases, like they are very similar, the SQL, MySQL, and PostgreSQL, they come up with some built-in tools, which can actually help you see the performance. You can monitor that, and you can do the query analysis too. So uh, in terms of MySQL, we have explain, we have another command pg stat activity, if I can spell it correctly, activity, and then we have pg stat statements. Again, if you want to know, like if you have a SQL server, you can end up having the profiler, the extended events. They have DMVs, like in terms of the views. If you are using the PostgreSQL, they have very similar to the ones which are inside the MySQL. Then, if you want to use a third party one, so we can categorize it as third party tools. So when it comes to the third party tools, it's like there's a long list. Like they are offering they offer advanced features and deeper insights. We're just gonna be looking into a couple of them. So the examples are gonna be, one is the DPM. So the DPM stands for database performance management. So what it helps you doing is like it provides you comprehensive dashboards, and you can do the real-time monitoring, and you can also look at the some historical analysis, uh, stuff like that. Uh, so examples of the DPM are gonna be like you have Datadog APM, you have SolarWinds has another one, SolarWinds database performance monitor. So these are known as the database performance management tools. Datadog is a very famous one, so that's another one. Then we have like another tool, which is, I'm just gonna actually it's not another point, it's still a third-party tool. That would be the query explainer. The examples are gonna be, as I said, uh, they are like I already mentioned those ones: explain, pg stat activity, pg state active. So what they do is like they offer detailed visualizations and explanations for query like execution plans. So you can basically you're gonna end up identifying the inefficient steps inside your query. Then we have the last one, which is the uh, stress testing tool. So, and the examples are gonna be JMeter, or there is another one known as the grinder. So what they do is like they simulate realistic workloads to identify the performance issues under pressure. That's what they are used for, and they are really helpful too. Okay, now I wanted to the last thing I wanted to talk in this video is the query optimization techniques. And yeah, what are different query optimization techniques? Optimization techniques, optimization. Okay, so number one is simplifying query structure. So you need to break down the complex queries, because when you divide the complex queries into smaller, more manageable ones, this is gonna reduce the processing overhead, and it definitely improves the clarity, and that's definitely gonna improve the performance of the query. You need to avoid unnecessary where clauses, like only include the relevant conditions in your where clauses to like filter out the data. Then you also have to use the selective filtering, like by making sure that the where clause conditions they target specific data ranges or values to minimize the data scanning. So these are like you definitely have to look into how can you really simplify the query structure. Then indexing, you need to leverage indexing. What it means is like you have to create appropriate indices, um, basically regularly. It You need to regularly update and rebuild the indices to ensure that uh, the changes you are doing like are relevant, and you need to basically maintain the indices. If things have been evolving for your project, you need to maybe re-index. Think about indexing on a regular basis. And also just remember that you when selecting the indices, you need to choose the right index type. So there are different types, like there is a b type, there is a hash. So and they are for different purposes. So you need to understand the characteristics to choose the most efficient one for basic for your project needs. The third one is stored procedures. So we did talk about it in another video. Whenever we are like we have complex queries, we need to pre-compile complex queries. So we need to store frequently executed complex queries as stored procedures. This is gonna save the database from repeatedly parsing and compiling the query, and definitely gonna improve the performance. Along the same lines, you need to reduce the network traffic. So, like these kind of stored procedures, which are basically in the database server, because they reside in the database server. Uh, so the stored procedures can minimize the data transfer between client and the server, and also it improves the security. The stored procedures can enforce like granular access control and reduce the risk of like SQL injection attacks. Then we need to do denormalization normalization. And again, it is done for speed, but we need to be cautious and careful denormalizing the data. uh, so sometimes, like as a strategy, adding redundant data uh, to tables can reduce the need for joins. And definitely if you are reducing the need for a lot of joins, it's going to improve the retrieval speed. And so just be careful. You are adding a lot of redundant data, denormalizing it, but then uh, there's always pros and cons, and you need to use the strategy very carefully. Then we have like the data configuration need to be optimized. Database configuration. Okay, you need to fine tune the buffer pool size, because the buffer pool, they caches the like the frequently accessed data. So or you can also adjust the connection limits. So this is a very important one. You need to configure the maximum number of concurrent connections which can be made between the user and the database. So yeah, these were the things I wanted to cover in this video. Thanks a lot.